Alrighty, folks, back again. Another episode of Inside the Hub. Blue Diamond Stakes Day being the main one here. We got Dill, we got Dame. We're back again.
How are you, folks? Getting very used to that chair, Torty.
Yeah, I am. I seem to have kicked Mac off the hosting duties ever since he's taken the opportunity.
Very similar to the Extreme Cheese to my right, just parching himself in that spot there.
Thank you, Damon. Torty, love being on the show.
How's the head, Damon, after last night's autumn racing launch?
I'm actually fine. How are you, Torty?
You know, I'm feeling sharp.
Big shout out to all the Betfair people that got down there last night to kick off autumn ahead of Blue Stakes Day. It was a really good night at Crown.
Track from Playmaster, Shear is the widest with Ruben.
Start off with the Futurity Stakes down at Caulfield tomorrow. A couple of our tipsters have looked their eye over that one. We've got punting form, medium confidence on Kolding and Streets of Avalon there.
Yep.
See Streets of Avalon as a bit of value, currently around the $22 mark.
Yep.
And Kolding's kind of their pick of that top line of bidding.
Interesting market here, Damon. So Super Seth has been backed in a little bit over the past 24 hours into $290, and Melody Bell and Kolding are $360 a piece. Streets of Avalon was really good last week. Traded 102 in the straight and got beat by Galaxy Raider, I think, which Dicko said, according to the punting form data, was the run of the day, I believe.
Looks the obvious leader here again.
Yeah.
I would have thought. So a massive price on Betfair, $26 on Betfair, which has been a slow move. I think it was around $30 a couple of days ago. So slowly crunching in and, obviously dutching that with Kolding.
Has the fitness edge over a lot of the horses in this field. So Melody Bell, obviously, first up.
Yeah.
Kolding, for me, is the one that's exciting here. I'm a little bit worried about Melody Bell going right to the back. We did spruik up Alligator Blood last week, and the only horse that's beaten Alligator Blood, Torty, is Super Seth.
Exactly.
So I guess if you really like Alligator Blood, you can't go past Super Seth here.
Seth, isn't it?
But Kolding has shown its best with Glenn Boss on board, and it's won in the weirdest ways. It's been trapped on the fence and it's gotten out. It's run on the outside. Like I love horses with versatility that they can win in a race that it might not go their way, and they can still win it.
Yeah.
So I love that punting form's thrown it in here along with Streets of Avalon, but it's going to be a cracking race, Damon.
Yeah, look, let's start with Melody Bell. I think it's first up and it's drifted considerably.
Yeah.
And I think for most people assessing this race, they'll be able to identify that the All-Star Mile probably is the grand final for Melody Bell here.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm happy to go around that, and I think the market's kind of picked up on that. That's why I see the drift.
Yep.
Kolding's did firm a little bit deal throughout the week, but now the money's come for Super Seth.
Yep.
We had Sam Freeman there last night, and he was very keen on Super Seth. Thinks it's going to run a big race here before perhaps going to the All-Star Mile. But I am with you, Dill, and I do like Kolding. It brings in the strongest benchmark performance into the race here.
Yep.
It was very disappointing last start, but I think if it can get that cruisy ride behind Streets of Avalon and they don't get too far away, I think it can push forward there. Dano's assessed the race, and he likes Super Seth, however.
Yep. So he's got a 1.5% unit bet on Super Seth Torty. He has it rated as a $2.70 chance. Has it clearly as the best horse in the field and the one to beat, just depending on the position of where it gets into the race. A little bit worried about Melody Bell first up, and Kolding, it's got rated as a $4.60 chance.
Yeah, I found that really interesting.
So that's you're pretty confident that it's not going to get near Super Seth.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned, it's clearly at its best. It's going to be flying home. Dano with it, punting form with it, looks a good bet.
For me, the thing that's really interesting here, Deal, is that Dano and Shane have the speed map very different.
Yep.
For example, Shane's got Kolding kind of on the pace, just behind the front markers. The blokes that are setting the pace, whereas Dano's actually got Kolding sitting right back and has Melody Bell in front of it.
Yep.
And I think that's what dictates kind of his price here.
Yep.
Yeah.
A lot will be read into the map, I think, in this race, and Super Seth's probably the thing that's easiest to probably map.
Yep.
It's where it's going to be. So
yeah,
I think that's probably where Dano's getting his price from there, and why he likes Super Seth so much.
I think punting form also touched on in their race comments as well. They do mention that if Kolding does let the front runners get away a little bit around the bend, then might be a little bit too much to ask for Kolding down the straight to make enough.
Probably
ground
doesn't
up.
have the turn of foot that the rest of them have.
So it's just another angle there for that one.
Yep. And just quickly on all the other runners, Dano hasn't marked anything above a $40 chance except for Casio, which is marked as a $2,000 chance to win the race, which is pretty extraordinary. So he hasn't put in Streets of Avalon as one of his bets, but he's sort of aligned with Punting Form there that, the other horses are good enough to potentially run a good race and win this, but they'd have to go to a pretty significant peak to do it. So Super Seth, the one to beat there, but it should be a cracking race.
Yep, for sure. Looking forward to it.
All right, we'll move on then. Race 7, the Blue Diamond Stakes.
Big one, the big one.
It is the big one indeed.
Very big one.
Again, we've got Punting Form and TRB both having previewed the race. Punting Form, we'll start on them. They've gone for the favourite, Hanseatic and Let's Be Glam, and a bit of a medium confidence Dutch bet there.
Yep. Market early as Hanseatic at 290, got to 310 yesterday, so it's gone back in a bit. And Let's Be Glam is currently the third favourite at 760. Rulership into second favourite there at 720.
I feel like we've talked about this all week, Dill.
Yeah.
I'll let you go first.
It's, look, it couldn't draw barrier one, Hanseatic, and it did. Exactly. So the speed is going to be on out wide, and it's going to go back to midfield on the rail if things go the way they should, Damon.
Yep.
Look, there's a worry there that it might not get out. Look, Punting Form are happy to be with it, with Let's Be Glam going straight to the front. It's the best horse in the race by far, but does the map, how big of a worry
I think
is
there's
the
been
map?
a lot of people talking about that it's the best horse in the race, and I think a lot of that is based on the fact that people see the potential to run a really strong new peak here. But let's not forget that Let's Be Glam actually did go faster and did run a better time than Hanseatic and Rulership in the Fillies race 2 weeks ago. I don't think a lot of people are talking about that. I think they're overlooking that due to the way that Hanseatic did win. Everybody likes seeing horses run on. It did hit the line hard. So I think it will undoubtedly relish the extra 100 metres to step up to 1,200 here. But as you say, Dill, I think there's a lot of things that can go wrong. And I think Dano touches in that in detail in his preview. There's a lot of things that can go wrong from barrier one for a horse that gets back. Is going to need to ride for luck, look for a passage to get through here. Especially when you look at the way that Caulfield often plays, the front half, leaders. Let's Be Glam is the obvious leader here. And I think that's what he is basing his selection on in marking Let's Be Glam as about a $5.50 chance. And market Betfair is about $8. And he wants to be with that. I don't know if I can have Hanseatic at $2.50, $3 when there's just so much that can go wrong. I'm not doubting its ability at all. I think it's going to be a superstar horse, but there is a lot that can go wrong at that price.
So D&O have actually gone with Let's Be Glam as their official bet there, Twardy, at 0.7% of their bank. It's the same thing as Punting Form there. It's not doubting the ability of the horse. It's just the map, which is pretty crazy how this has sort of happened. So
it's a disaster for it, really.
Potential for the rail to be inferior ground as well as the day goes on. So potential there to it could drift, maybe it could get to $4 to by the time the race starts.
Exactly. That'll be super interesting to see just what price it does jump at.
So D&O have gone with Let's Be Glam just because of the value there, sitting at currently $7.60. So
well, it's an interesting one because at what point does it become a bet? So we can talk about
the thing,
it's not valued at $2.50, not valued at $3. It's the best horse in the race, but there's a lot that can go wrong. I mean, what point does it become a bet?
For me personally, I think it's got to be anything over $3.50 to me to even look at it. And look, knowing Betfair, like it can drift quite quickly late, so I wouldn't be betting early at all. It'd be one where I'd be watching the market late 40. If you can watch the races throughout the day, just see how the track's playing out. It's going to be the one where punters will hopefully come for, because if favourites win on the day, they'll be going into it as well. But with that barrier and with the early speed out wide, with the away game as well out there, it's going to be tough for it. If the runs appear, it'll blitz them and it'll win. But if it doesn't, it could be trouble.
Let's just quickly touch on some of the other horses and what Dano's marked rated prices here. So as we touched on, Dano's marked Hanseatic the favourite, $2.90. Let's Be Glam, $5.50. Has Rulership next. Obviously ran second to Hanseatic in the Colton Geldings at $6. Tagaloa at $14. Away game at $14. The interesting one is here, Dano kind of likes Tagaloa at the $14 price. Was obviously first up in the prelude, and he's probably the long shot in the field that Dano said probably can run a race. And if you're looking for kind of something of more value outside of the big things there, because you've got to remember it is a 2-year-old race. We do see some horses pop up and run a new peak. There wasn't even much talk about Let's Be Glam before it ran that massive benchmark performance in the prelude. So bet with caution here. Only a small bet for Dano. We know he bets up when he's very confident. Medium confidence bet from Shane.
I think the Dutch bet is the way to go there with Punting Form, Let's Be Glam and Hanseatic. I think that you'll find the winner in those two.
There we go. Alrighty. Oakley Plate, next up at Caulfield, race 8.
Another tip for Godolphin.
Yeah, another one in the bank for him. Punting form, they've got a medium confidence bet there on Bivouac. One of our office favourites, I think, old Bivouac.
We like Bivouac. It's interesting how this is a Group 1 race, Twardy, but it's sort of the one that no one's really discussing.
It's fine under the radar,
it's just there on the card. Bivouac, clearly the favourite in the market, $3.05. Next best is Anahid, which I'm sure we'll touch on at $6.60. Then Pippi and Trope at 11 and 13s, and then the market's quite open from there. Look, it's another case of being the best horse in the race, so they're happy to be with it. Punting form, Bivouac, expecting it to sitting on pace. Damon. Ball of Muscle's an interesting one for me. It's going to go straight to the lead, but the talent with Bivouac here is what Punting form is sticking with.
Yeah, it's obviously resuming, and it's a cult that we saw a lot of last prep. We talk so much about the 3-year-olds that are going around in Alligator Blood and Super Seth, but there's a case to be made that this is the most exciting one, I guess, especially in the short distance stuff. So we'll see. I think they just love the fact that it comes in with really strong benchmark data. Punting form always going to lead on their own database there.
Yep.
And are happy to look past the fact that it's resuming.
Yep. The map is the worry for Anahid here with Punting form, so that's the horse that they wanted to be with.
Mm-hmm.
They've got it projected to be on pace out wide, so might be doing a bit too much work early.
Right. Yeah.
So one to keep an eye on, I guess. What we were talking about before, how the track's going to play out, because they were keen to be with Anahid, but Bivouac at $3 seems a pretty good price there.
Yeah.
Alrighty, and the Group 2 Peter Young, the max confidence bet here from Punting form. I've gone with Kingsville Dream, currently around $2.80 on the exchange. What do we know about Kingsville Dream, folks?
Look, I think I know why Punting form are betting up here, and it's an obvious one, Dill. We know how much we love their database, and I know that they love their database.
This will be good, Twardy.
Look, Kingsville Dream comes in with a massive benchmark figure that puts him by far and away ahead of this field.
Mm-hmm.
His run in the CF4 last start was obviously quite impressive first up, and I think the way that he looked in that race, he can go to similar to his PB here.
Yep.
I think it's a massive bet from Punting form, and we've seen in the last couple of weeks that whenever they do bet up in a race, they generally get it right.
Yeah.
And look, he's got 3 lengths on the rest of the field.
Yep.
When you look at the benchmark data there, so
a couple of interesting horses in this race, Damon. One particular, Constantinople, who was one of the favourites to win the Melbourne Cup last year. It's got every single bit of gear that you could ever imagine on the horse to try and make it run right. Look, it's clearly good enough to win this race. Harlem's going to be up the front there. Regal Power coming over from WA. We'll see how that goes. But Kingsville Dream, they've got it in barrier 1, which they expected to be sitting in the 1-1 up front. Providing it has been good from there all day. We've been speaking about barriers a lot because it is quite important. It should be able to blitz them around the turn. So, but we've spoken so many times, I guess, across these shows about the ROI factor of Punting form when it's these high confidence bets. You've just got to be with it, I think. So Kingsville Dream looks a good play.
Yeah,
you like Constantinople, Dill? I know it's one of your favourites. Probably better suited to a little bit longer.
Yeah, I couldn't be with it on this one. I'll wait and see job, I think. Anything could happen with this horse, but it's definitely good enough to win.
You'd be pretty brave, I think, to go against the Punting form high confidence bets in the days. So
definitely.
That
be pretty brave to go against Deontay Wilder, Dill.
Yeah, I don't know too much about boxing here, but I'm hoping Twardy can help me out here.
How's the transition there for the Dame as well?
Some big fight.
I've been waiting to get into it.
The Gypsy King, I've been told, Twardy.
Yeah, that's one of them.
Well, your domain, Twardy, kick us off. What do we got there?
Yeah, so Sunday morning we've got the rematch there between Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury.
Mm-hmm.
Last time out was the controversial draw between the two of them.
Yep.
So we've got our boxing analyst in for his third ever preview on the hub. He's nailed his first 2 bets, including Joshua by decision last time out at $4.70. So one to follow. He's back in the bronze bomber here for a KO win. Wasn't too impressed with Tyson Fury's performance last time out, and he got that big gash above his eye against Otto Wallen.
Yep.
Just thought he looked a little bit lethargic. Wasn't taking the punches too well, and sees Wilder as consistently improving, and just I think he's going to see him as a bit too powerful here, and get the knockout.
I believe our analyst mentioned that potentially Wilder was surprised by Fury the last time they fought. I think Fury was coming off a big. He hadn't fought for like a couple of years or whatever. Probably wasn't expecting him to be as sharp as he was. So Wilder's probably done his homework this time around. Is probably the better fighter overall. So yeah, look, it looks to be an interesting fight. I don't know anything about
What
either
price?
of these
What price
two.
we're looking at for that bet?
$2.40
$2.40.
currently
Yeah.
on Betfair. So
Bit of plus money.
that's the way you want to go. Yeah, look, hopefully that wins. I don't know anything about these two fighters, so we'll see.
Yeah, we'll leave it to the experts.
It's a real clash where you got one person that looks like a boxer and one person that just does not go down and has a lot of fight in
Exactly.
it. So it's interest from my end.
Yep.
As I say, Dill, you'd be very brave to step in the ring against Deontay.
Yeah, you wouldn't find me there, mate. You wouldn't find me there.
Yeah, that'll be Sunday afternoon, that one. Also, we've got UFC on Sunday morning / afternoon.
Yep.
Heap of other sport on across the
Yeah,
weekend.
so much stuff, Torty. The Women's T20 World Cup starts today, so we've got the preview for that, and we'll have pretty much previews for every single game in the tournament across the Betfair hub, so keep an eye out for that. The Mailbag will have their preview for this weekend. Really looking forward to see what they're going with as far as their best back value and lay selections. Damon. Jump outs is there. Bookies bag, so the best lay selections.
Queensland Racing, new addition to the hub.
Yeah, there's so much there. Like we say it every single week, but we don't have time to mention it all on this show.
truly don't.
Otherwise, we'd be here forever.
What we will mention though, Super Rugby analysts 3-0 last weekend and are tracking very well throughout the Super Rugby season. I know might not be the sport on everyone's mind. Looking forward to AFL and did we mention the NRL? But they are doing very well, and it's always cash in your pocket no matter what way, shape, or form it comes in.
Yep, 100%. So just make sure you check out the Betfair hub. There's just an enormous amount of content there for you. No matter if you're not into racing, if you're into sport or whatever, there'll be always something for you.
Bang. All right, I think that'll do us. Feels like it's been a very lengthy episode. So
A lot of good
show.
off-road talk.
Well done if
lengthy
you've made it
show.
all the way through.
Enjoy a massive week of racing. I know I'm very keen.
Yep. Cheers.
Thanks, guys.